Stone Castle Music presents Hang Here, an inside look at the art of C. Louis Steinburg. Volume 1.
I've never been one to repeat things, obviously, and this is a kind of an obvious repeat of those shapes, those sizes and shapes, and yet they're not the same. That you can include this up to here, or you can include it down to here. This you can include. Look at this as a shape, and then adding this to the shape. So they're not the same. They're not even. They're not repetitive, other than just in a basic kind of way.
And why do you think that we're fascinated with that? Seeing the visual possibilities, or
I think life is like that. I really think that what I've done and what artists do very frequently is to put how they see things and how they think about things in a way that makes those things individually unique. You know, they're repetitive, but they're not repetitive because they're not identical. Mm. And that's how life is. Your experiences in life are like that.
Right. Like you might think of one experience that's a part of a whole category of experiences, so maybe that looking at one part of the shape becomes kind of spotlighting one part of that. Is that what you mean? Or?
Yeah. But the interesting thing is that you can manipulate those so that they're not really what most people would see. You know, they'd say, oh, there's 4 boxes, there are 4 almost equal, the top 1 and 2 here and 1 and 2 over here, but they're not. They're not the same. They're because you do this, you can absorb this by itself, or you can absorb this. Mm-hmm. You can absorb all the way down to here if you want to, or you can eliminate some of that, or you can push it back so that it's part of it, but it's not an integral part of it. It just exists with it.
It's almost like you're finding a joy with the shape, and so you're seeing what all it can do.
Yeah, a square can be monotonous. If you do things like this, you can make it non-monotonous. You can make it pretty exciting by just playing with it. But I always enjoyed making things like that happen. To me, it was like a little miracle that these things happen, and then all of a sudden you see them and you respond to them. And then that makes the rest of the painting come about.
It's not like it's planned. It's not something you can really, or you might have some plan.
Well, it might be vaguely, you might have a vague plan, or you might have a concept rolling around inside your head that has to do with geometric shapes and similar geometric shapes, and then as you put it down, you start playing with it and say, well, yeah, I can make it similar, but I can also make it unsimilar.
Do you find that, because I know I get this way sometimes, it's like I'm kind of torn between, am I frustrated that I had a plan and something else happened instead? Or is that the magic?
Or you could take advantage of a thing like that. But all of a sudden you see something that you didn't see and you didn't plan to see, and take advantage of that. And that's why I like painting, because you can change it almost instantly. Mm-hmm.
You don't have to wait for the plate to be.
Sometimes it's good that you have to wait, and you see some things that have to be changed.
Right. But. Well, I think the other thing too with this one, because you have the different blues, you know, it's also. Do you feel like it's also could be, you know, part of it's kind of a study of what blue can do?
Yeah, well, I think that we all have recognized blues as being water or something, to that effect, with flexibility, a lot of flexibility. You could take almost any color, and if you use it transparently and put another color behind it or in front of it, it might still retain some of its blueness, but it can also work almost into another variation, of such a strong variation that it becomes something else. There's blue in this, but it's so delicate that with all this around it, this kind of disappears until you look at the painting for a while. And once you kind of look at it, and once you kind of live with it, you see things that you didn't notice before. I still do that. I'll walk in a room or something, and I'll look at that and I'll say, "Gee, look at this." It's almost like as they age, they change.
Right. They're speaking to you, and boy, when you frame this picture in different ways, just filming it here, you get so many different. Look at that, almost like a face to the right. So many different views of it. It really becomes, just in looking at all that, it becomes to me, it's this huge piece.
Well, when you said you see faces and things, I find that happening in a lot of the paintings, and I think in terms of these are produced by a human being, and whether you purposely did that or whether it was an accident, they're there, and they don't bother you because you say, well, a human person did this, and how you move the paint around. I always felt that came from somewhere,
Yeah.
Somewhere within you or somewhere within your environment, or you look at those shapes up there, the way they're pushed together. That has that to me goes back to humanistic things. People will have a cluttered desk or a cluttered countertop, and when you look at it, you begin to sense that's becomes almost an idea or a concept you might use in the studio. This series is going to be on compacted shapes pressured into certain other forms because of contact with them and because the space around them's pushing in on them. And so you say, gee, the whole concept, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 paintings would be about that visual kind of thing that's going on. That makes a lot of sense to what's really there. Is that they're compressed. People will push something to get it out of their way while they're using a rolling pin or something like that. Yeah.
Well, cluttered desk sometimes can be, kind of a reflection of life in a way,
Yeah.
because it's all the different things that
You see, we're thinking along the same lines. Because our minds are cluttered. Our visual situations quite often are cluttered. And that's why sometimes we need to get away from that, to unclutter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's good if a desk is your workplace, that it's good to clean it off and start over.
This table in my studio is like that. The clutter changes. I push it this way, then I push it that way, and then I throw it in the garbage. And this is the same thing. You can feel visually. You look at this and you say, I kind of have the power to move those things around the way I want them to be, and then if I don't want them to be, I can eliminate them also visually by just ignoring them. I think that's why painting's kind of an exciting sort of media and an experience, is that you can do things that happens, but that no one else can recognize but you.
Right.
When I look at this too, I look at this poor person part is being tossed out of the group.
Right.
Doesn't belong in the group anymore. It's not as complex as some of these other forms. maybe that's. But when I look at that, I think the poor thing has been thrown out of the group. Maybe
These
he's
things
the
you could-
smartest one.
Yeah, could be leading them into the place that they're all afraid to go or something, you know. But the brave one,